So, Carlos Sainz has just been announced to race with Williams, which I predicted last month in this video, and this means that the driver we all thought would race for Audi next year is not. So, first off, my thoughts on Sainz to Williams is that if the car is good in 2026, which I think it will be, then this is a great move. However, that's only if. Either way, Williams can rest assured that they will have two competent and two fast drivers racing for them next year, so they need to pick up their slack and make a fast car. Anyways, instead of making a video about Sainz to Williams since everyone else is doing one, I thought, why not make a video about who goes to Audi now, since, like I said previously, we all thought it would be Sainz in that seat, and even a little part of me thought so as well. So, with a large plethora of candidates, let us have a look and analyze, similar to my Checo replacement video, about who should be in that second Audi seat for 2025. 26 technically. So, we have a plethora of drivers to choose from, more so than the Red Bull video, so the analysis will be slightly shorter, but will still be concise enough to get the point across. Most F2 and all F3 drivers will be excluded, and I will be taking into consideration the Audi influence, not the Sauber influence, so Sauber Academy drivers may be at risk of not making the cut for the Audi seat. So enough yapping, and let us start with our first candidate. Our first option is Valtteri Bottas, since he is a current Sauber driver, and I feel bad for him since he is a great driver but somehow is 21st in a 20 car championship. Anyways, Valtteri, like Nico, can bring in tons of experience that will be enjoyed by Audi and will surely help them in terms of getting their footing in the sport and even car development. So far this season, Valtteri has been great since he has been on the fringes of the points here and there and has gotten Sauber's best results this season, with the only real detriment to his season being the fact that that Sauber car is so unbelievably slow. Now, Valtteri has been with the team since 2022, meaning I assume he has a great relationship with people on the team, which should hopefully make the transition into Audi seamless. And performance-wise, Valtteri has gotten some of the team's best results since 2022 with his smooth driving, and is overall a great choice for Audi if they want to obtain experience. However, there is a problem. Valtteri is 34, Hülkenberg is 36. They might as well be running a retirement center since this lineup is no way sustainable, since they'll be rocking in with a lineup full of experience, but perhaps no ambition, since these drivers have already achieved a lot of things in the sport, and in the case of Nico, time is running away for him to get a podium, and as much as I want to see it happen, I don't think he has it in him anymore to become a podium finisher at his age, unless that Audi car is really good, or things just go his way perfectly. So the age of the lineup is a massive issue, but this could actually be a good thing, since Audi in their first years, I'd imagine, would want to play it safe and have drivers they know are reliable, instead of trusting in a young driver who may disappoint or just be flat out bad. This all really depends on what Audi wants in their first years. Do they want results or stability? So Valtteri for stability is a great option, however, for results, I think there could be a better candidate out there. Now for the other employed Sauber driver, which is Zhou Guanyu. This one's going to be very short because I don't think you have to be a dedicated Formula 1 fan to understand that the only justifiable reason as to why Zhou would be retained for Audi would be marketability. Being the first Chinese driver in F1, he brings a lot of that China money that would be appreciated by anyone and seems to be a very popular figure in China. However, this is really counteracted by the fact that he's a disappointing driver since he really isn't that good. Sure, he has points finishes and can be good on his day, but there are simply better options out there that would be more worthwhile for Audi. So as for this move, this is all dependent on if Audi need his money or if they don't, and let us be real. Audi is one of the most recognizable brands out there. I imagine they are flushed with cash, so if they want a youngster to partner Hülkenberg, I would think they would put their buckets of money on someone else with perhaps a bit more talent. So Zhou to Audi is a no way Jose from me. Now for our first non-Sauber driver pick, and I have Sergio Perez, since while yes, his time at Red Bull is certainly interesting, let us not forget why Red Bull opted for Checo in 2021. He was one of the most consistent drivers of the 2010s and always extracted 110% of his tires. I mean, he wasn't just a tire whisperer, he was the tire whisperer, which is why Red Bull got him in 2021. All of Checo's downfalls with the team wasn't because he suddenly became bad at the moment he got into Red Bull. His downfalls was because of the pressure he put on himself by setting unrealistic expectations, which came with pressure from the media as well. And ultimately, all of his bad performances can always be traced back to pressure, which is why he forgot how to drive like the Checo we all knew and loved. So hear me out. Why not put him in the back again? Away from the pressure of winning and back to the reality of scoring good points and maybe getting a podium on a lucky day. I think maybe that can be a solution in regaining not only his form, but his reputation as a Formula 1 driver, since before his Red Bull time, I don't remember anyone hate watching him like they do today. Plus, not to mention, he has worked with Hülkenberg before from 2014 to 2016 at Force India, and they were a fantastic pairing, with Hulk getting great quality results and Checo getting great race results. They were a force to be reckoned with, so perhaps the same can come back at Audi. Now, for all this praise I'm giving, there is a major drawback, and one of them is him being confirmed to drive for Red Bull for the remainder of the year, and the confusion around his contract, since to me, it seems like the recent announcement was about his contract from 2022, not the new one, so who knows, maybe the contract he signed for 2025 can still be ripped up. The other problem, which is more significant, is the exact same one to Bottas, and that is age. Checo is also 34, and his time in F1 is rapidly closing in, and perhaps if the move even does happen, maybe he doesn't perform like before due to age, not pressure. However, to that I say that being old and driving in the back of the grid is not the same as being old and driving at the front of the grid. Hülkenberg has certainly proved that, since he is one of the oldest but also one of the best this season, and that's mainly due to his experience of driving towards the front back in his younger years and applying that at Haas, who are in the back of the grid. So perhaps Checo, and Bottas for that matter, can do the same, and maybe the results for stability argument can be voided because their experience is simply too good that it could counteract it. But again, ifs, so who really knows at this point. Now for more unorthodox picks, but maybe reality if things become dire. I have two picks I want to highlight, and these two are K-Mag and Mick Schumacher. Let's start with K-Mag, and he is currently Hülkenberg's teammate, and they surprisingly work well as a pairing given past history, but I actually think K-Mag isn't that bad of an option since he is pretty fast on his day, and while his defending may be a bit on the risky side, he still gets results. I'm not going to yap on about how this is a good idea since, while I certainly don't think it's a bad option, there are clearly better and more ambitious options, and I unfortunately think K-Mag's time in F1 is done, which sucks because I really like him, but I just think there are better drivers than him, but I think he could cook in a series like WEC, Indy, or IMSA. Speaking of more ambitious picks, however, I want to highlight Mick Schumacher as well, since this year in WEC, he's doing pretty decent and has been running F1 tests for teams like Merck and Alpine. So clearly, teams want him back, as well as him just wanting to be back, and what better place than Audi since the team and him are both German. Think about it, this isn't bad, since I think Mick is starting to become refined in his driving, meaning crashing less and performing more often, and if that translates to F1, he could be a driver we should all watch and support. Plus, with him being on the younger side, the team could perhaps center around him the more time he is there, and could be very successful, since I imagine Audi want to find their driver. Mercedes had Lewis, Red Bull have Max, Ferrari have Charles, and I think at Audi, Mick could get that treatment, and I see it as a reasonable gamble to go for, especially if Mercedes and Alpine decide on someone else for 2025. And I think Nico would be a great mentor to Mick in the sense of supporting him and getting his mentality right, rather than training him how to drive better. So I think Mick qualifies for the potential seat. Now, of course, we shouldn't forget about the current Sauber Academy drivers who cannot be discredited for that seat. Let us start with Zane Maloney, who is having a great season so far in F2 and was even leading the championship for a while at the start of the season. He has demonstrated good wheel-to-wheel racing, however, personally, I don't see him as a realistic candidate since, after a fantastic showing at the start of F2, He really hasn't done much else since then, and in my opinion, I think he needs to show a bit more, since one great performance will easily get overshadowed quickly in F2, especially this season by the other drivers, driving more consistently such as Paul Aron or Isaac Hadjar. So for this move, I don't see it happening. The next Sauber Academy driver to talk about though is Theo Pourchaire, who of course won F2 last year. I like Teo. I've been following his career since 2019, and he has shown, in my opinion, that he has that dog in him to compete in F1. But I think he suffers a bit of the same case that Callum Ilott and Oscar Piastri for a while suffered from, and that is the lack of space in F1. However, this is a golden opportunity that I'm sure Teo is looking at, since with him being contracted with Sauber and his performances in IndyCar being pretty impressive for someone who was just shoved in the car with no warning, I think he can have an argument in terms of being on that Audi seat next year. The only problem being, of course, if Audi want to take that risk. Audi could go for a youngster who already has experience like Mick and not bother with the driver with zero F1 experience, since maybe they feel like with the team's ambition, it'd be too risky. However, Porsche is no slouch, and I feel like Audi know that, which is why I say he has a chance of getting that seat. So after looking at 7 drivers, I believe there are 4 realistic candidates for that seat. Those being Valtteri Bottas, Checo Perez, Mick Schumacher, and Theo Pourchaire. So, who do I think will get it considering the ambition and goals of Audi wanting to be at the front? Well, in my opinion, I think it's going to be Checo Perez or Valtteri Bottas. I have both as an equal chance due to one factor. If Checo gets dropped by Red Bull at the end of the season, he gets the Audi drive. If Checo stays at Red Bull for 25 and 26, Valtteri gets the Audi drive. Simple as that. Both in my opinion would deliver similar results performance-wise and can offer good stability as Audi look to establish themselves in the midfield and higher before signing on their driver. Now as for Mick, personally, I believe Mick will race for Alpine next year over Doohan due to Mick doing well for Alpine and WEC as well as not being a rookie, and Teo I fear is suffering the same fate of Ilott, which means maybe he was good enough for F1, but he simply lacked that final factor to get into it, whatever that factor is. And those were my thoughts on who gets the second Audi seat for 2025. 26 technically. Like I said, Valtteri and Checo in my opinion have an equal chance for that seat, and it's all dependent on if Checo gets dropped by Red Bull or not. Either way, I think Audi will have a great lineup that will deliver great results no matter which comes true, but one thing is for sure, Valtteri Bottas or Sergio Perez will be an Audi driver for 2025. 26 technically. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and let me know in the comments who you think is getting that seat, and as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.